Welcome to Monday, the 15th of October. We're halfway through the month and we're live at just before 7 p.m. Hopefully, you got the introduction. I'm never really sure with the live how quickly it goes live or whether I need to pause. But anyway, welcome to Monday, the 15th of October. I hope you're having a great day, whatever you're doing. And today I thought we'd talk about difficult conversations. It's often a topic that I'm asked about. And so I was looking at some of the examples that are in the book Crisis itself, and I thought I'd use one of those to have a look at how difficult conversations can feel overwhelming, but actually what we can put in place to make them feel a little less challenging. So I want you to imagine the scene. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. I get called to go to North London and I meet a guy there. Let's call him Adam. I meet Adam and he tells me that his brother has been kidnapped. Now, Adam doesn't particularly like police officers. He is very anti. As soon as I meet him, he's very emotional, he's very aggressive, he's very frustrated. All of that kind of body language you would expect to see, that. And every time I asked him a question, I would get resistance of some sort. So Adam clearly did not want me to be in his life on that particular day. So there are a couple of things that could have happened. So one of them is I could have taken that personally and gone, well, Adam doesn't even know me. He's just judging me on the job that I do. Number two is I could have been really unhelpful or sarcastic to Adam, or talked over him, told him what he had to do and what he needed to do to get his brother back. Or I could have just withdrawn and been submissive and let Adam shout and swear at me, and we wouldn't have got very far. Now, the reason I point these things out is because that's generally what happens when we are feeling challenged or attacked, is we will generally become more aggressive. So we might be sarcastic or talk over, or we'll become submissive and start to withdraw. So I knew that Adam was struggling with something that's very personal to him. I knew this because thankfully I'd been trained by some amazing people, and also because I'd dealt with other kidnaps before. So Adam is going through a crisis, not even one of his making. So Adam's brother decided to rip off a local drug dealer, and the local drug dealer decided that he would kidnap Adam to get his money back. That's the long story in a very short format. And so I'm dealing with Adam. Adam's quite tense. We're sitting in the car, we're talking. Now, somehow I have to win Adam over very quickly because Adam's brother's life is at risk. And if I don't work with Adam and collaborate with him, then who knows what could happen. So I know that I'm going to have to do a couple of things. And these are the things that I have thankfully been taught, thankfully practiced in a variety of formats, and that I know work, and that now I know when you use them in everyday life, they will really help you. So how can we use Adam's scenario of his brother kidnapped in your everyday life? So let's take, for example, you're sitting in a team meeting and you put forward a suggestion, and one of the managers in the room laughs at you out loud in front of everybody else. And that's like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I feel a little bit challenged. I feel a little bit awkward. I'm not going to say anything now because I don't want to look stupid in front of my other people. But actually, I'm pretty annoyed, pretty frustrated. Why would you do that? So there's lots of things that start to run through your own head. So in Adam's case, I knew that he didn't like police officers. And I knew that he was probably going to try and push us away. But I also knew that he was not in control. Because when you're in a crisis of any situation, and this is like of the far end spectrum, but we'll scale it back, it is that you feel that you're not in control. And when you feel that you are not in control, there's something called the window of tolerance by Daniel Siegel. And it talks about when you are in control and you're calm and your brain is in a logical place, then you are able to make rational decisions and you can take on board information. When you are feeling out of control and your brain is in an emotional place, it's harder for you to make logical, rational decisions, and it's harder for you to take on information. So Adam is in a very emotionally charged place. He's out of control. He can't find his brother, and he's tried really hard to find him, and he's had to involve people in his life that he doesn't really like, which are the police. So he's come to us at the time when he's at his absolute wits' end. So in any negotiation, there are a few things that we always try and do to take a little bit to help the other person feel like they're in control. And I'm just going to share some of those with you now, so that perhaps if you are in that meeting and somebody has laughed at you, then you are able to start to take back that control. And you'll know when you're feeling out of control because you'll feel uncomfortable. You might feel angry, you might feel frustrated, but you'll feel a variety of emotions. So it might be that you are having dinner at your family table and everything's fine, and then suddenly one of the members of your family becomes quite aggressive and quite challenging or sarcastic and says, well, what do you think I mean? Why are you doing that? And you're like, oh, hang on a sec, now I feel a little bit challenged again. So that's how you know when you're moving from that rational side to that emotional side. It might be that you start to get frustrated. Maybe you're really busy at work, and I don't know about you, but IT is great for me when it works, or when it doesn't work, I find it incredibly frustrating. So you might have spent the last 2 hours trying to just get something that you needed access to, and it's taken up all of your time, and it's like, why am I doing this? Why can't it just work? And so you start to become a little bit frustrated. And that's how you know when you're moving from your logical side to your emotional side. Because if somebody were to come into me, I don't know about you, maybe you can relate to this, but if I'm having a tough time with the computer and somebody comes in and says, can I help you? I'm like, oh, no, just do this on my own. And maybe that's just me. Anyway, so that's how we know when we're flitting from the logical side to that emotional side. That's how we know when we're not going to be able to take on board that information. So in Adam's case, I've got to give him some clear instructions, some clear information, but I've also got to let myself feel that I am in control, so that I can remain in that nice, calm, logical part of the brain whilst we're having that conversation, and not be pushed by him in any emotional way, whether he calls me loads of names under the sun, whether he says I'm chuffing useless, whatever the situation, it doesn't matter, because it's not about me. It's completely about him and looking after his brother. And so we're going to use the same tactics, the same skills when we're having those difficult conversations ourselves. And so all I'm going to say is grab a piece of paper and a pen, grab your notebook, whatever it is, and just write down these 4 questions. So before you have a difficult conversation, so this is if you know that you're going to have a difficult conversation. The more you practice this, the better you'll become at it, the more conscious you will be able to use it, even in those circumstances where you might just be sitting down for dinner and you have somebody who feels like a personal attack, or you might be in a meeting, somebody says something that feels like a personal attack, or they do something that makes you feel challenged. Or it might just be somebody that you don't get on very well with, and that's okay. We don't get on very well with all the people in the world. And sometimes we find different people more challenging than others. And that might be to have a simple conversation around implementing change or asking them to do something. And we know that we're going to get a sarcastic reply or a pushback. And it's just like, why can't you just do what I kind of am asking you to do? So we don't want to get into that state, because we know that those conversations are not very helpful and they get in the way of collaboration. And we know that we can't move forward in like a nice smooth way if we don't have collaboration of some sort with other people, especially if we've got resistance to what we're suggesting. So we're going to sit down with our piece of paper before we go into the meeting, or we're going to mentally just give ourselves a checklist. And the first one is, what is my goal? What is my purpose from having this conversation? Why do I really want to have it? Is it because I want to gain something? Is it because I want to help somebody else gain something? Just have an idea of what it is. Then the next one is just to sit down and have a plan. So I call it the 4 P's: purpose, plan, perspective, and practice. So the first one is purpose. Make sure you have that purpose. The second one is plan. Make sure you have a plan, because people are emotional beings and we don't often react the way that other people will think we are going to react. The other thing is that plan for the what ifs. So my plan with Adam is, what if he walks out? What if he lies to me? What if we get a phone call? What if the kidnappers turn up at his house? What if Adam doesn't talk to me? What if Adam decides that he's going to lock us in a room together? So all of these things you have to go, you just run through them. And the more you practice, the more, it's like doing a risk assessment, but on a very simple format of what if I don't get a pay rise? What if what if they say no to my idea? What if somebody laughs at me again in another meeting? How will I react? So it's all about reflection and looking at previous experiences and almost predicting the future, and that's what we can do, and taking a little bit of control back. So the third P is then perspective. So look at the world through somebody else's glasses. I always say, if any of you have ever seen me present or heard me before, you'll always hear me say, when you get up in the morning, you put a pair of glasses on, and in those glasses are your lenses. In your lenses are your experiences, your beliefs, and your values, and they're personal to you. And so you see the world through your own lens, which is not necessarily the same as everybody else's lens, because everybody else has a unique set of glasses that they put on in the morning, and they see the world in a very different way. And sometimes when we are communicating with each other and they're seeing the world from a different perspective, that communication can be quite challenging. So think about the other person's perspective. You can almost predict, if you know the other person well, what the response will be. And if you don't know them well, then you can look at what's going on. So for example, if you're going into us for somebody for a pay rise, and you know we're in a time of recession, and that nobody else around you is getting a pay rise, and that somebody went in to see the boss last week and they said no to the pay rise, you can probably predict that you're going to get a no. So then we look at timing. Is my timing right? Or do I need to do something differently? What's worked for other people? How has that happened? So we start to just kind of predict a little bit more by looking at the world from a different perspective. So we've got purpose, plan, perspective, and the last P is practice. And I can assure you, before I went to meet Adam, I was practicing in my head exactly what I was going to say and how that would go, and if I needed to change the way that I said something. And often when we have thoughts in our heads and internalize things, or when we have an idea, well, it's not until we say it out loud that suddenly when we start saying it out loud, we go, okay, hang on a sec, that doesn't sound right. That's not what I'm trying to say. So find a safe place or a safe person. You can record yourself, or just do a video on your screen, or you can say the words out loud and see how it feels and see how it sounds. So there you go. There's some top tips, 4 top tips of just really how to have difficult conversations, a whistle-stop tour. But if you sit down and write those questions out, that will allow your brain to take back control. It will stop the inner dialogue from spiraling out of control and sending you down different pathways that perhaps are not real, but just that your brain is trying to protect you from. And it will just help you to settle down and take you back to that logical brain where you can make good decisions and take on board information. So I hope that helps. If you've got anything that you so next week I'm not here because I'm having a break, I'm having a holiday. So if you have anything that you want to go through from either the book or how you can use the skills of a negotiator in your real life world, then just let me know and I'll cover them. Other than that, have a great Monday evening. I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks time. Have a good half term for those of you that are going away next week or have kids that are on half term, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Take care.